the future self you've always dreamed about could start today? What if I gave you the tools to become your future self now? So instead of just wanting something amazing in the future, you could actually start living it today and becoming that person who's going to get you there. Today we're going to talk about how you can become your future self now. Now, to start off, what the heck is a future self? And when I first heard this concept, I also had that question. What is a future self? So a future self is if you were imagining the person that was already successful. They already had the nice car, the big fancy house. They're already a huge force of good in the world. That person is your future self. Now, the problem with most people is they don't know who their future self is, and they don't feel like they are that person yet. They feel like they have to get the house or the fancy car and do the good in the world and win the Nobel Prize to be able to be that future self. But in this amazing book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he talks about becoming your future self now. Because when you become your future self now, you no longer have to wait for the things to happen to become that person that has the happiness and the success. I know this sounds a bit crazy, but let me break it down even smaller so we can understand it better. After you connect with this future self, you're going to need to get to a level of understanding what they're doing, the things that go on in their head so you can understand them and become them. You also need to get a vivid picture of what their life looks like. What are the habits and activities and friends and acquaintances and books? What would they be doing? What would they be reading? You need to get a vivid, clear picture of this. Now let's talk a minute about Mr. Beast. In Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book, Become Your Future Self Now, he talks about Mr. Beast's story and how he actually became successful, which I love this story. If you haven't heard it, you're in for a good one today. So Mr. Beast, before he became famous, he worked for years and years on a YouTube channel that got very little return back. Then he did something he had never done before. He decided to film a video talking to his future self. I believe it was a 6-month video, and then he did a year video and a 10-year video and a 5-year. Anyway, he did all these videos talking to the future self of what he wanted to achieve. And they were very vulnerable and raw stories. If you haven't watched them, you should go check them out. And he had a realization that the things that he was doing right now did not align to what his future self needed to be. And he knew he had to change things. He had to change lots of things about him to become his future self. And the crazy thing happened. He actually made an estimate of when he would talk to himself of how much money he was going to be making in that video that he posted to be posted years ahead in the future. And he surpassed it by millions of subscribers because he truly went into that future self and put his whole heart into creating content and helping people. Now, I'm no Mr. Beast, and I imagine you're not either, but we could all take this and use it for our own success. We can imagine where we want to be in 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, and write it down in detail and write it as if we were writing that from that future self, right? So we're not writing to the future self, we're writing it as if we are that future self, what they're going to be doing, what they've accomplished, what they've done. And in that, we can become and know what it looks like for that future self. Now, a crazy thing about our brains is the more vivid we can see something, if we can feel it, if we have emotions about it, our brains don't know the difference between being real and being fabricated. So basically, we can take imagination and make it a superpower to help us achieve our goals. Doesn't imagination sound more fun than, like, I don't know, hard work or all the other things? I know it's still going to take hard work, but using your imagination can really help implement this new thing. Now, in order to achieve your future self, another step that is very crucial for us to take is we need to take responsibility of where we are right now. If we've created some bad things in our lives, addictions, maybe bad relationships, we have to take that responsibility now so that we can take responsibility in the future to become our future self. Because if it's everyone else's problem right now that you are who you are, and it's not your fault at all, then you can't have responsibility for your future either. You're going to just be a victim. So we have to get out of the victim mindset in order to make the future self work for you. Once you have a clear vision of what your future self looks like, how they feel, what they're going to accomplish, you need to make your surroundings conducive to your future self. Now, I'm not saying go move to a beach house somewhere. I'm saying if you have friends, if you have relationships, if you have habits that are not conducive to your future self, you need to commit to your future self and eliminate these extra things immediately. Because you cannot become your future self now if you're still doing yesterday's stuff, the past self, and then you'll just stay in the past. You have to commit and you have to start changing and become that future self. Now, in this journey, we also have to have a mindset of change. If we keep our mindset exactly how it is right now, even if it's a good mindset, we will never be able to change and become better. We will never be able to become our future self now. We have to open ourselves to opportunities and new perspectives that sometimes are hard. Maybe we haven't shown up the best in a relationship and we've been avoiding the fact that maybe we didn't put in the work that we needed. Maybe we were hypersensitive. Maybe we hadn't healed from the past. If we're not able to change that, we will never be able to become our future self. Now, in order for you to achieve your goals, to become that future self, you have to have a flexible mind. You have to be willing to change your perspective, change your ideas about things, be open to new things, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. We can't stay in the same one and expect different results. It just doesn't work that way. So what was the one biggest thing that stuck out to you today in this video? Tell me about it in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.